Welcome everybody to the latest addition to the Project Nigel Yard, and that is this MG ZS Stepspeed 1.8 automatic funny gearbox with a continually changing transmission. It is pearl black and covered in stickers and dust at the moment, and that's not really the issue. No, there is another issue, one that I shall be investigating today. This car has come into my possession because of a couple of things. One is help from a man called Boaty and another man called Paul. And the other is that the previous owner of this car for 8 years was told by their local garage that the head gasket was leaking, and that's never a good thing. However, what does tend to happen with head gaskets is they can get somewhat misdiagnosed. I'm not saying that that's just a cop-out on mechanics' behalf, because it's not. So far, the drive home from Todmorden yesterday, which is about 10 miles, no issues, nothing to write home about, and it was hot like this, so it does have its best opportunity to show up any problems. But I am informed that it is leaking coolant from the corner of the block there. Not that you'll be able to see anything because it's far too bright. That particular corner is prone to going. I've seen it before, but then again, when I saw it before, maybe that wasn't the problem. Maybe it was just the inlet manifold, just like on Nigel. Bless little Nigel. He's not here again today because of space issues, but there was a major concern just a month ago that Nigel's head gasket had actually failed for the second time. But then I found out it was simply the inlet manifold gasket that had started to crumble and fall apart. And you could well and truly, very, very easily, get that confused with a head gasket failure due to where the coolant is coming out of. So, whenever I hear the words head gasket failure along with K series, I tend to be a little bit skeptical. I like to have a look myself. I like to make my own mind up about it. I'll do my own little checks. I'll come to my own conclusion. 18 months ago I bought a Rover 45 with a suspected head gasket failure, and I drove it around for 4,000 miles and it was fine. It was a head gasket failure, but it wasn't prepared to fail on me. So that would suggest that everything is a head gasket failure. It's just you've got to wait around long enough for it to show itself properly. One thing to consider then from yesterday, it was Todmorden and this is Milner, and it's pretty much downhill all the way from there. Although it was hot, it wasn't really under any pressure. So what I really need to do today is take this car for a drive, have it up to temperature, give it the beans a little bit once it is up to temperature, because that's what you're supposed to do, and then bring it back and start investigating this leak. If I can see that the leak is definitely coming from the head, then obviously that's got to come off. If it's coming from the inlet manifold, I'll do that first and we'll see how it goes. Other than that, this is quite a nice car. It's got loads and loads of MOT on it. It drives well. It's got nice wheels. The paint's a good colour, but the stickers, they are going to come off because they're just not going to be to everybody's taste. If somebody wants to buy the car with the stickers on, do say so, because I will peel them off. That and polishing up the headlamps, rectifying some of the paint, scratchy, scuffy bits everywhere, and the roof, oh, the roof needs quite a bit of work. These CVT gearboxes do properly need looking after, so I shall check the fluid before I even go anywhere. But what kind of idea is this? You pull that out and it clangs on the purge valve-y thing, making it awkward to get out. The Codfather! That's this car. Is that screen really cloudy, or is it just full of dust or something? Well, whatever it is, I don't know. And it's not going to matter soon anyway. What I've got to do here is simply get this car up to temperature, put it under a bit of pressure, then see if there are any leaks. And at the moment I'm actually doing 50 miles per hour. I never managed that yesterday. I would have said the CVT box doesn't really work with a car like this, but actually it does. It's surprisingly laid back. It just picks up and goes without really making any great deal of fuss about it. I like it. I actually like it. I know. I didn't think I would. Yep, I've said that. Now this is a wonderful excuse to sit in the lights whilst they do a little bit more roadworks just up the road. Fabulous. Yeah, it's like being on holiday. I'm definitely not going that way after all. No, thank you. In the garage next door, they have a coolant tester, pressure sensor tester thingy. I've used it before. I used it with Toby Charles to find out where the coolant was leaking from when it was leaking. But two problems. One is that you've got to get the thing hot in the first place so the thermostat opens, and the other is that they can't find it. So that means that that's difficult to use. So as previously mentioned, the head gasket is one of those things that gets the blame for all sorts of things going wrong. Leaking coolant, must be a head gasket. Flat tyre, head gasket. Scratch on the paint, you know what I'm talking about. And the thing is, a head gasket can go in a multitude of ways, either between the oil and the coolant, one way or the other, or just out of the side, leaking coolant out of the engine block, whilst the rest of it runs perfectly well. And you shouldn't drive a car around when you know the head gasket has gone, because it can cause further damage. I have on occasion bought a car where the owner has said the head gasket's just gone on it. Yeah, and then you go and the oil is basically like milkshake. You know it's been like that for ages. Or it started losing a bit of coolant, yet you find a couple of milk bottles full of water in the back, and the coolant isn't coolant, but just water. Blackstone Edge, the road for testing things like head gaskets, because the engine gets put under quite a bit of pressure to get to the top. Let's do this. You got this. Yeah. Gosh. You're in a Golf. You're not supposed to be doing 25 miles per hour. Get the little motor to the top of the hill and have a look then. See if there's anything squirting out anywhere. And if there is, I'll be able to see where it's squirting from. Well, that's strange. Nothing. That should well and truly be enough to get these hot juices finding leaks somewhere. Yet it hasn't done. This temperature, knocking on for about 30 degrees, driving up Blackstone Edge. Why isn't it leaking out now? This is the best opportunity it's got. It's not done it. I might just stick it in the garage next door where there's a bit of shade to have a proper look at it. But what I meant to say is that head gasket symptoms, this is the opposite. I was told by the people who own the car that the head had gone because they'd been told, but they hadn't noticed anything. They didn't know anything about it. There's been no symptoms, no loss of coolant, but there's told that the head had gone on it. That's a very different situation, and it's also why I'm just a bit sceptical. Well, Captain Codface, what do we do next then? My assumption there is it's showing no signs of head gaskets at all. Nothing going wrong with it. What do I do next? Either I just assume the head's gone and then replace it, which is a bit pointless if it doesn't need it, or, well, I just run it around for a bit. Run it around, nothing happens, then nothing happens. I'm just really curious Really curious. No evidence of coolant leaking anywhere.